Alright everybody, this is video number 1 of Sekigahara demo. And what I'm going to be doing tonight in this particular demonstration is I'm going to actually play everything hands up, blocks face up, so that you can see everything. That way nothing's hidden to anybody. It's just really the easiest way to learn a game like this, I think. So first of all, trust everybody's gotten synchronized. If you haven't, let me walk you through how to do it. Just load up the Vassal module, choose to look for Game Online. Server control panel will appear on the right-hand side of your screen. You'll want to join the demo room. Right-click on that folder that says Demo. Choose to join room. Once you're in that room, right-click on my name, Joel. Choose to synchronize. And please join tonight as observer. It'll just be easiest. What you see here is the game map. Let me just walk you through the game map and how it's all set up. First thing you'll notice is the turn track. Upper left-hand corner of the game, you'll see the turn track. And basically the campaign is divided into 7 weeks, each of which consist of an A and a B turn. During each Alpha and Bravo turn, both players will be given the opportunity to move and fight. So basically everybody is going to get 14 turns to accomplish their objectives. The turn marker is basically a block in the game. It can be flipped over to show which side has the initiative, whether it's the Ishida or the Tokugawa faction. In the game, the Tokugawa faction has the black blocks and the Ishida faction has the gold blocks. And by the way, if you don't have a physical copy of the game, the blocks really are gold, metallic gold. I can't think of another game that has metallic gold blocks like this. And visually, it's one of the most striking games you'll ever see. It's really something that just grabs you visually. Across the map, you're going to see that there's several stacks of blocks. I'm going to expand several of them so you can see them all stacked up. And if you're playing with a physical game, you would actually do that. You would actually stack them vertically like so, although sometimes you'll get a big stack with more than 6 blocks, at which point it becomes something of a something that's easy to tip and knock over. So we start building multiple stacks next to each other to avoid accidentally knocking things over. But it looks really cool on the tabletop. Across the map, you have all these stacks of blocks. You also have, on the map surface, different locations. These are all cities, and the cities are either just an ordinary town, or they can be a castle, or they can be a resource center. So let me walk you through which ones are which. I'm going to use this little round circular piece, the Toyotomi Hideyori piece. I'm going to move this thing around to show you the different locations. This location here, Ayabe, is actually just a regular run-of-the-mill town. You can't fortify in it. If you're in this location and enemy blocks move in there, you're going to have to fight a regular field battle. City here of Miyazu is a castle, as denoted by this castle-shaped structure here. And you'll notice that the castle-shaped structure is black in color, which means that it is a castle under the control of the Tokugawa faction. And for those of you watching my video, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so this is easier to see. So Miyazu is a default Tokugawa-controlled castle. Over here, let me hide the blocks for a second, you'll see that the city of Osaka is actually got a castle symbol, but it's got a yellow border around it. What that yellow border signifies is that is a castle that is under the default control of the Ishida faction. At the start of the game, the Ishida faction controls, Osaka. They also control Gifu and Ueda off to the right-hand side of the map. So they start with 3 castles under their control, and they remain under their control until the number of Tokugawa blocks in that particular location outnumber or are the only ones in that particular location. So if you had Tokugawa block in Ueda, the Tokugawa faction would then control that castle. But if they were ever to leave that castle, it would immediately go back under the control of the Ishida faction. because it's their default control. Same is true of the Tokugawa castles. For example, the Tokugawa faction controls Anotsu. They also control Okazaki. They control Akone. See, there's one more they have. Oh, Miyazu, way up on the northwest side here of the map. Those are the castles under the control of the Tokugawa faction, and basically they're default controlled castles. Looking for that. There it goes. Put it back there. And zooming my map out a little bit here because I think I forgot the other. There's got to be another castle for Ishida here somewhere. There he is. Aizu, or however you pronounce that. Way over on the right. Trouble of zooming in. So there's 4 castles here controlled by Ishida. Let me summarize this again. Aizu, Ueda, Gifu, and Osaka. And that is from right to left on your map. From right to left, the Tokugawa faction again has Hakone, Okazaki, Anatsu, and Miyazu. So each of those have 4 castles under their default control. So that's the castle situation, and castles are extremely important for victory conditions. I'll explain those in just a second. Let me talk about the other pieces on, or the other locations on the map. You also notice that there's some of these locations on the map that have a red dot in the middle. And basically, they're not castles, but they're known as resource centers. And to designate control of a resource center, you're either going to place a block of your own or a cube of your own color or of your opponent's color. So you'll notice that Kyoto has a yellow cube or a gold cube there, showing that the Ishida faction has control of that resource center. Now, all the other resource centers that don't have cubes, basically they're neutral at the moment. But the moment the instant faction moves in there, they will seize control of that. So as soon as Tokugawa moves into Kuwana, you would then right-click on this and you could adjust the block control. At that point, once it's controlled by somebody, it will only shift to the other player's control. It never goes back to neutral. So the Ishida faction, if they were to move and have sole possession of Kuwana, then it would shift over to them and so forth. So that's how the cubes work in the game. They basically just mark control of resource centers. There is one last type of space. There's only 2 of these on the map, and those are capitals. Kyoto is a capital for the Ishida faction and is symbolized by the flower, the chrysanthemum surrounding Kyoto. And also for the Tokugawa faction, their capital is Edo. And again, you see the black flower there by Edo. And those are also resource centers, but they're also capitals. So those are the different locations on the map. As your stacks of blocks move around the map, they're going to move from point to point. And there's 2 different roads that will connect cities to one another. The thick roads, like for example between Edo and Oshi, that thick road there is known as a major road, and can actually, it's known as a highway, and it can actually speed up your movement. You can move further if you stick only to the highways. And we'll explain that when we get to the movement rules. Lastly, as it concerns the map, is the ordinary roads. You have the highways, which are the thick lines, and then you have just your basic run-of-the-mill road. That's the thinner lines. For example, the road here between Kyosu and Gifu, that's just a run-of-the-mill standard road. You don't get any movement bonuses for moving along those. So that's the map. Left-hand side of the map, there's something known as an impact track. That is used for battle. We'll explain that when we get to battles. There are recruitment boxes for each side. The Tokugawa faction has one in the right-hand corner, lower right-hand corner, and the Ishida faction has one in the upper left-hand corner of the map. And obviously in a face-to-face game with a physical copy, you would sit across the map so that you could see your recruitment pool from your perspective. The Ishida faction has one other box. It's the Mori box. And so there's actually 5 blocks in here. They have a little diamond in the lower right-hand corner. These blocks can come into play through a special rule. It's kind of like reinforcements, but it's a little bit different. We'll explain that when we get a little bit further along in the demo. So that's the map. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording here before we start the next segment. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat bar in Vassal, and I'll be happy to get to them as soon as I can.